much brighter. I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Ooh, mountain. We gon' walk it out. Ooh. And I know
Proclamation news and gatherance. Let's not forget who delivered Brexit. Let's not forget who delivered Brexit. There's so much critics in social media. And I'm back for good. I am back for good, ladies and gents. Proclamation news and gatherance with Professor Johnson. Thank you all for tuning in. There's so much critics in social media now. Joe Biden's taken over. There's lots of critics putting Boris Johnson down. Obviously, as you know, Joe Biden's in charge of the United States of America. Has finally left the White House, but not quite in favour of Boris Johnson. There's a lot of critics now putting Boris Johnson down because Joe Biden's taken over. But let's not forget what Boris Johnson has done for us, which is paramount. Putting extra policing, more funding for the NHS. Everyone, there's a lot of people and critics as well saying about lockdown. But let's not forget, you still got a roof over your head. Let's not forget, you still got food for your family. Let's not forget, you're having an extra long holiday. While you're at work, you'll be moaning, I need a holiday, I need a break. You've got all the time in the world to spend with your loved ones. You don't know when your last day is met. And there is people catching COVID-19. My son himself has caught COVID-19. COVID-19 is officially real. I haven't had it. I kept thinking to myself, is it real? Is COVID-19 real? Is it conspiracy theory, COVID-19? No, it's not. Clearly it isn't a conspiracy theory. Absolutely not. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming through to Proclamation News and gatherance. I want to build a bigger, better democracy. People, listeners, people calling in. But first of all, I'm going to go through today's lineup. We've got weather warning in England. We've got Joe Biden, UK. We've got more UK politics. And we've got what's in my local constituency. I just want to thank you all for coming to support the show. If you don't mind, if you're listening on YouTube, please share on your social media. I'm trying to build a bigger audience, more listeners. It gives me more triumphant in myself. It gives me more encouragement, doesn't it? I like that triumphant feeling that people are coming through listening in, because there's other producers, radio producers, which I don't think are quite adequate with style or sense as myself. Not being big-headed, but I've been doing this predominantly for 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years. The more people I can get supporting, the better. Anyway, let's get into today's climate of COVID-19. We can get right through some really, really good news, and there's some news that you need to know for what's happening this weekend. COVID. It's too early to judge if lockdown will end in spring, the Prime Minister said. It is too early to say whether England's COVID restrictions will be able to end in the spring. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said, once the 4 priority groups have been vaccinated by mid-February, we'll look then at how we're doing, he said. Nearly 2 million people in the UK have had their first dose of vaccine the past week. Government figures show. It's up to about 4 million now, I believe. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer said it was an impossible question to say how long the lockdown would need to last. He said the coronavirus vaccines were really good news, but should not mask the fact that we still got a very serious problem. Speaking during a visit to Didsbury in Manchester, Mr Johnson said it was absolutely crucial that people observe the lockdown restrictions. Referring to figures from an Imperial College London survey, he said And the numbers are very great. The government is aiming to offer a vaccine to all over 70s, the extremely clinical, vulnerable and health and care workers by mid-February. By the end of Tuesday, 4.61 million people have received their initial jab, up from 2.64 million the week before, with people being vaccinated at a rate of 200 a minute, according to the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock. 65 new vaccination centres are open in England, including a mosque in Birmingham and a cinema in Abbey. It comes after scientists warned of immense pressure of the NHS after a study showed infections in the community increased at the start of the latest lockdown in England. And one in the 10 major hospitals trust had no square adult critical care beds last week. NHS England figures show the UK recorded another of all-time high of the daily coronavirus deaths on Wednesday, with 1,820 people reported to have died within 28 days of the positive COVID test. That's a substantial amount, isn't it? 1,820 died in 28 days. That's like a sniper sitting in a tree of your city centre, isn't it? Shooting people dead. 1,820. It's like it's an invisible world war. Huge endeavour. Given a statement in the Commons, Mr. Hancock said the country had an immense infrastructure in place that, day by day, is protecting the vulnerable and giving hope to us all. Do you think they've got, the infrastructure set out in place of safety, like the roads, hospitals? Talking about infrastructure, is it all safe? Committed with safe environment, doing the best they can, aren't they? Absolutely. That's what Matt Hancock is absolutely trying to point out there. Describing this is a huge feat. He said government was making good progress towards its vaccination target. I mean, the unfortunate thing, they're trying to put off cancer patients due to COVID-19. There's so many hospital beds taken up by COVID patients. My friend at the moment, my dear friend, very, very close friend of mine, has grown up through school, has got cancer on the kidney. What a shock to his family. What a shock to everyone. Absolute, it's astonishing. He's a great friend of mine, and they can't get. Luckily, he's getting the treatment, but some people, cancer patients, ain't getting the treatment because they're taken up by COVID beds. He said this virus is a lethal threat to us all, and we respond through his huge endeavour. Let's all take comfort in the fact we're given 200 vaccinations every minute. But in the meantime, everyone must follow the rules to protect the NHS and save lives. I mean, my friend, he's in hospital with his thing. Imagine his family, for got COVID patients in the hospital. He's got one illness. They're probably worried about him getting another illness. He's a married man. He's got a good family. He's my best friend of his whole family throughout my whole life. And still are. We don't really speak. We don't see each other anymore. But over social media, we're still mates. I still care for him dearly. Anyway, asked about difficulties in getting vaccines to rural areas and whether the Oxford AstraZeneca could be prioritised for these as it is easier to store. Mr. Hancock said the challenge was that supply was lumpy, with manufacturers working as fast as possible. Shadow Health Secretary Jonathan Ashworth said new variants of the virus showed vaccination need to go further and faster. He asked if there was a contingency plan in place in case vaccines needed to be redesigned to contain mutations. Mr. Hancock said the early indications were that the new variant was dealt with by the vaccine, just as much as the old variant, but of course we are vigilant to the new variants that we're seeing overseas. There's new variants come from overseas all the time, isn't there? He also said that 63% of the residents in elderly care homes have now received a vaccine. Former Conservative Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt, who is now a chairman of the Commons Health Select Committee, asked about establishing quarantine hotels to combat new strains as well as weather in shops and on public transport. Mr. Hancock said the clinical advice was the current guidelines on the personal protective equipment, PPE, were right and appropriate, and said very significant measures had been brought in for international travel. In Northern Ireland, more than 1,600 people have received their vaccine dose. In Wales, were more than 175,000 people who have received a jab. There's people waiting for theirs have been urged to show patience and perspective. Scotland's First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, insisted her country's vaccine programme was not lagging behind during First Minister's questions on Wednesday. In England, the rollout of the vaccine started with people aged 80 and over. In some regions, where the majority of these have been vaccinated onto over the 70s. Home Secretary Priti Patel will lead a Downing Street press conference later, said ministers. We're working to ensure police and other frontline workers are moved up to the priority list. While Education Secretary Gavin Williamson told BBC's Breakfast he hoped teachers and support staff could have moved up the list. Meanwhile, pumps and sandbags were brought in to protect supplies of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine from the risk of the floodwater at a warehouse in Wrexham, North East Wales. And young people in Wales have been asked to share their experiences of the pandemic in a survey by the nation's Children's Commissioner. I just want to bring some local news. I don't know if I've got any of my friends listening, but I want to press something for the audience because I want to get more listeners coming in from Essex. I mean, as you know, in my years growing up, I've been involved in boxing, professional boxing, and there's something good for the local constituency where I was brought up to look forward to in the future. I think it's in June. In June, there's a big boxing match in Essex. It's going to be held at Clacton Town Football Club. I'm surmising. Clacton Town Football Club, if you're in Essex, two of the old school boxers, one of them being a war veteran, Christopher Mallet. You know, I'm not going to put the guy off. He is tough as nails, tough as an old boot. I don't know how old he is now. He's probably got near on 50s. But I'll tell you what, he's still fit as a door. He's still fit as a butcher's dog. I say fit as a door now. Fit as a butcher's dog. And he's fighting an old friend of mine also, Danny Keston. Danny Keston was a phenomenal amateur boxer. Both Chris Mallett's a bit of a bigger lad. But what a veteran to be coming out in this match. So I'm hoping this will bring some interest in from the audience. Something to look forward to. Anyone in Essex, or it might be on social media. If you follow Chris Mallet or Danny Keston, the boxing event might be live on one of their pages. It might be live on the YouTube or something. I don't know. But if you're looking for something to do in months to come, something good to look forward to in the summer months. It might be held before June. All depends how this lockdown plans out. Hoping, I'm looking at previous news just earlier, hoping that we'll be coming out of this pandemic influenza in a matter of months. Hopefully by the end of February, might be coming into Easter month, and we can start gallivanting about the shops a bit more with your mask on. Lockdown, we come into tiered system again. We really seriously need to take restrictions on board. Wear your mask all the time. Unless you're not smoking outside the shop, even wear your mask to the shop. That's what I do. I started wearing my mask to the shop. Wear the mask to the shop. I'm not sure how hospitality is going to open up in the future, but we're going to get into that next. So stay tuned. Thank you all for tuning in. Help share my YouTube and my Castbox with friends and family, and please subscribe. It means a lot if I can get new subscribers on board and new people participating in the show. It means a lot. Anyway, COVID. Young people asked how pandemic has affected them. This you can imagine, can't it? Being a child's head. A child would go to school on a usual weekly day, wouldn't they? They'd go and play with friends, go to the local youth club or sporting event, or to the cinema, as a treat. You done well at school this week, son or daughter, niece or nephew, perhaps. You take them to the weekend. Take them to the cinema at the weekend for a prize. None of your family out is going to the zoo or go bananas, go ape. All them kind of things that you can't go and do. Imagine how frustrating it is for the children. Young people have been asked to share their experiences of how they have coped during the coronavirus pandemic. Children's Commissioner for Wales, Sally Holland, said her national survey was important because sometimes views of younger people can be surprising. I mean, I've had my little cousin come stay. The kids, they've got nothing to do. So I'll sit there and do some artwork, Try and take the mind away from the pain that they can't have a normal life. They can't go to KFC with a mum and a new fella. Can't go to, normal days out. It's a strain on the kid's life. She said the information provided would also help inform the Welsh Government ahead of some tough decisions it will need to make in the future. A similar survey carried out in the first lockdown last year. A recent Prince's Trust Youth Index survey asked young people across the UK about their thoughts and feelings towards the pandemic. It found 63% of 16 to 25-year-olds said the pandemic had left them always or often feeling anxious. 64% said they were feeling like they were missing out of being young. I don't know anyone else is suffering with anxiety. I had a really bad anxiety attack I was almost like half asleep, but then it woke me up to almost tears, the pain, and I had IBS at the same time. But the anxiety, like thinking, my son's got COVID-19. So I'm thinking, is the world going to end? Are we all going to end up with coronavirus? Are we all going to suffer? Are we going to start losing our loved ones? And I started suffering the pain down my left side, all down my left side. My heart felt like it was burning, all down my left side. I had a sudden shock of anxiety. It's absolute horrible. I'm not just saying this to try and get a round of applause to be, or violin. Oh, poor Mr. Johnson. But I'm being deadly serious. People are suffering mentally and physically. And not just me, you guys as well, your children. People need to sit and think what's going through your child's head. Even for your own head. You go to, you might be like me, you might want to go to the library and get a book. I like to go for a walk sometimes and see people. That makes you feel normal, doesn't it? When you start seeing people in the street, getting a bus or they're taking their mum to the shop, or they're getting shopping groceries from the grocery store for their nan or something. Just seeing people makes a big difference in your life. Anyway, BBC Wales spoke to a number of children and young people about their thoughts on a variety of issues, including homeschooling, loneliness, and find out what they are doing to stay positive. Homeschooling, let me tell you, homeschooling. I live in my own home, so I've got my own chores, like getting up in the morning, cleaning my house, making it, a tidy house is a happy house. So you've got to get up, do your chores every day. Get up, do your hair, have a bath, brush your teeth, put nice clothes on, iron them. Not every day I do, but I try to. Anyway, Angel, 16 from Cardiff, is studying for her GCSEs. I've just been confused a lot of the time. All the information out there, and it's really hard to process and get to a point where you're in a mindset where you know what's happening. There's such a high level of uncertainty, you're constantly worried or actually doubting what's going to happen next. When you have goals for the future, it's something to help you get through this, but when you're in the circumstances we're in now, it's really hard to find out the motivation and purpose for what you're doing now. Try and stay positive, Angel has been trying to get out for walks during the school. To try and stay positive, Angel has been trying to get out for walks during the school breaks and watch Netflix. She said she's also tried to learn some sign language during lockdown and attempted yoga. Anyone else in the same situation, not just kids, young adults, thinking what to do. There's a lot on YouTube that you can do. You can learn how to play an instrument, just learn how to sing. Everyone's got a voice. You know that. Doesn't matter how good or bad your voice is, your voice will be remembered. If you keep doing it and you keep believing it, you will achieve it. So, do something to keep your mind preoccupied. Therapeutic. If you find singing therapeutic, doesn't matter what you sound like. Look at some of the top artists, number one, and listen to their actual voice and think, they're not actually a great singing artist. They've made it just for a name. I mean, I look at Frank Sinatra. I love Frank Sinatra. I like his style. It's a bit like my own deep voice myself, if I'm quite honest. I don't like to play my own trumpet, but I've sung many songs. I know what songs I can sing and know what songs I can't. Some songs I sing, I haven't got the voice for it, absolutely. I'm pretty sure you guys have tempted to think, listen to yourself back, think, yeah, that's pretty similar. I'm not exactly the same. You can't be exactly the same as any singer in the world. I've been in the choir. I was never a good choir singer, but I'm not a bad gospel singer in my own environment. So there you go. If I think I can do it, you guys can do it as well. Enjoy yourself. Reading helps. Drawing, painting, all them kind of things help for this bad situation. Emery's 11 from Bridgend said he misses not having the structure of a school day and seeing his friends. He added, I'm a social person. I have friends. I chat with them. I play with them. And it's hard not being with my friends. But I mean, the family will have to do. He and his 6-year-old sister, Clara, have enjoyed going for walks with their parents and have been learning some new skills, including washing dishes, cooking dinner, and baking cakes. Meanwhile, 11-year-old Sophie has found it difficult to not get bored during long periods of time in the house. I'd say I'd cope okay with it at some points, but then not okay with it at other points, she added. It's like everyone, isn't it? If you live in the purity of the aesthetic of your life. I mean, I do. I don't know if you're in the same situation as me, you say you do as well, but, if you live pure of your aesthetic life, don't live for a good time. You live for a long time, such as myself. You'll know. Living for the highs and lows of life just comes naturally. But if you try and drain your sorrow for alcohol, you can have a lot of lows, then you are going to be having highs in life. Anyway, heartbreaking. Alicia is studying for her A-levels and has friends who have dropped out of their studies this year because of the stress and anxiety caused by the uncertainty about exams and their futures. The 17-year-old also said it was heartbreaking not being able to see many of her close friends for almost a year. She added, my thoughts are, it's less of a luxury now. I need to be able to go out to see them and to work. What's quite scary, before the pandemic, Sarah, 16 from Wandsey, enjoyed going to a local youth club and took part in local drama group, but how has now moved online, giving it a different experience. It's quite sad because I used to enjoy being able to do those things whether it was on, but I think I'm getting used to doing everything online. Everything's online, isn't it? She said. I mean, trying to pay your bills. Automated service 9 times out of 10. Because no one's in the office because of the COVID. Someone in my family's got COVID, they're not going to be at work. As a person who does not cope very well with not knowing what will happen next, the pandemic has caused anxiety at times for Sarah. I'm finding it quite scary, but hopefully things will change and I'll be able to go back soon, she said. I think if you're really struggling with something, talking really helps, so it would be nice to see people in person, she says. Children's Helpline, MEICA, Simon said it had seen a 10% increase in the number of calls from young people, parents and carers during the pandemic compared with the previous years. Stephanie Hoffman, head of social action of the promo, Simon, the charity which won Helpline, said, we're seeing what I'd say are many more substantive contexts. So a lot more contact dealing with really serious issues to do with social well-being, mental health and relationships, as exposed to what might have seen more of in the past. Now we're dealing with situations which can be quite complicated. Of the survey, Miss Holland said, We've heard a lot from adults showing concern for children at the moment, such as parents, carers, professionals working with children about the potential impact of the lockdown on children. Those voices are important to hear, but it's also important we hear directly from children and young people because sometimes they can be surprising. We know that COVID-19 vaccinations have been on people's minds in Wales, with many wanting to know when they or their loved ones will receive theirs. If you have any questions about the issue, you have a story you'd like to share, please get in contact. Any stories your children are suffering about the COVID-19, please get in contact with Proclamation News and gatherance@yahoo.com. Got any stories that you want to share with your children struggling mental health? Or maybe you might be struggling with your mental health to support your children. You know, some parents, they like the respite of the children at the weekends, and they want to have a glass of wine with their friends, and they can't now do that because of this lockdown. And the children seem to be getting, in a way, not being too vindictive about it. Children getting in your hair, under your feet, so you're not coping too well with stress. It's causing stress to your daily routine. But in others, I think they've been living with it so long that you're probably coping absolutely fine. Bear with me 2 seconds. I'm just going to have a short break, not long. We've got some floodings across the UK. Should be able to hear this. You're not going to hear it, I don't think. No, you're not going to hear it. Hang on a sec. President Trump, yeah.
This pandemic is crippling families with debt because most people don't know that you can write off any unsecured debt that you can't afford, often up to
We've got about another hour to go, lads.
people across the UK.
Thank you very much, and we love you, and I can tell you that from the bottom of my heart. This has been an incredible 4 years. We've accomplished so much together. I want to thank all of my family and my friends and my staff. Only say this, we have worked hard. We've left it all, as the athletes would say, we've left it all in the field. We don't have to...
President Trump.
We don't have to come and say, we'll never say in a month when we're sitting in Florida, we're not going to be looking at each other and saying, you know, if we only worked a little bit harder, you can't work harder. I will always fight for you. I will be watching, I will be listening, and I will tell you that the future of this country has never been better. I wish the new administration great luck and great success. I think they'll have great success. They have the foundation to do something really spectacular. And again, we put it in a position like it's never been before, despite the worst plague to hit since, I guess you'd say 1917, over 100 years ago. And despite that, the things that we've done have been just incredible. And I couldn't have put just a goodbye. We love you. We will be back in some form. So, have a good life. We will see you soon. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gents, President Trump walking out of the White House. A lot of US citizens, they don't see what a tragic time it is to walk away from your number one love. Your number one love. It's broken his heart. To walk away from the White House. To me, you and any other outsider looking in do not realise what has been taken away from President Trump. Everyone's thinking, just get out, President Trump. But that is his livelihood taken away from him. That's a hard thing to do. You can only but surmise that he's in a lot of distress about walking away. He didn't want to leave. He didn't want to leave the White House. I wouldn't. He's a man all over the media every single day of the week. He's the face of America. Then you get it taken off you. Imagine being captain of England and you get dropped. You can feel devastated. But David Beckham got his captain badge taken off him. Devastating. When he got his red card in the last minute of one of the England games, he is an England hero at one stage, isn't he? Well, most of the stage when he's playing, to be quite honest with you. He's getting a red card to let the whole side down. Rips your heart out. I bet, there's many situations in your life, your heart gets ripped out. Your mum and dad's bought you new football, playing football with your kid, when you're a kid, outside with your friends, and when your friend kicks the ball over and their dog bites your new ball that your mum just bought you. It's broken your heart. You're devastated. My vape, my new vape, that's a new vape I've got. My vape, I had a new one just recently. Vape died. My heart died because vaping is very, very essential to my day-to-day regime, because I used to smoke cigarettes, gives you bad breath, stained teeth. So yeah, you can imagine that, losing that was a devastation. I do not want to be on nicotine for the remainder of my life. I want to try and vape, and hopefully one day I can get a vape and just breathe the air we enjoy. Anyway, moving on, ladies and gents. Thank you all for tuning in. We're going to have a few breaks. We're going to try and make this go for about possible hour and a half. I'm going to try and make it go as long as possible. I'm just so thankful you all come through and support the show. We said President Trump. So we're not talking about the new exit and the new entry of the White House. The new exit was President Trump, as we all know. Next up, Biden to sign 10 executive orders to tackle COVID-19. The good thing of when Joe Biden did enter, I'm not a fan of Joe Biden because I don't know nothing about him. But he's got a good approach with how he took the White House in his speech. But then he's got a lot of supporters, so maybe, his speech sounded... When you've got a good vibe about someone, you're always going to take whatever they say as gospel. It's going to be like music to your ears, President Joe Biden is set to sign 10 executive orders to boost the fight against COVID, which he ravaged throughout the US. When he turned up for his speech, and what he did do, it was good of him. He turned up with a COVID mask. He turned up with a COVID mask into the audience. Shows good morals. Obviously, Trump wasn't a great fan of the COVID mask, but needless to say, who am I to say about Trump wearing a mask? Who are you to say? We don't know what his medical conditions rely on. Maybe that was the point of ask him not wearing one. His medical conditions. He's an older guy, he might suffer from breathing. We don't know. We can't point finger at people, as we know. Vaccination will not be accelerated and testing increased. Emergency legislation will be used to increase production of essentials like masks. In a break with former President Donald Trump, the policy stresses a national strategy rather than relying on states to decide what is best. The moves come the day after Mr. Biden was sworn in as the 46th president. The Trump administration was widely accused of failing to get grips with the pandemic. In terms of total deaths of coronavirus, the US is the worst hit country with more than 406,000 lives lost, according to Johns Hopkins University. Nearly 24.5 million have been infected. That's a substantial amount of COVID victims. 24.5 million people have been infected. Another source of media, President Trump. He's a great guy. You can't take it away from him. He was in the White House for 5 years. You can't take it away from him. He's done a great innings as a presidency, a speaker. You had people who loved him. You had people that he made jokes with and took him the wrong way as well. He's a bit of a comedy actor as well with the people, with the audience. Good with being confident as a television speaker. You can make joke with the audience because do you know what it makes? It makes people have respect of his authority. He's stamping his authority. Having a joke with his comedy act with the audience, he's stamping his authority to preach everyone that he is above everyone else. He is the president, and he should be taking note. And they wasn't taking note, so he made a joke about the death toll. Things like that, little things that he's done over the years. He's made joke with the audience to, saying, you're all acting like human excrement. None of you taking the rules and regulations as an authority issue that needs to be outlined, and you need to take it on board. No one did. Even in England, exactly the same. People and the critics, we're going to have a local debate to get back to reality. It's all well and good, but look at all the lives that have been taken from stupidity. We've got old people in care homes dying at any given moment due to these stupid people that go on debates, these critics that have no idea of what they're doing. Anyway, what's in the plan? In his inauguration speech, Mr. Biden warned that the coronavirus pandemic then US was entering its deadliest period. Mr. Biden, COVID-19 Task Force Coordinator Jeff Zients, told reporters that under Mr. Trump, there was no strategy at federal level and a comprehensive approach was taken. As President Biden stepped into force today, that all changes, he said. The administration unveiled a 7-point plan which included efforts to facilitate effective distribution of vaccines and reliable access to testing. The American people deserved an urgent, robust and professional response to the growing public health and economic crisis caused by the coronavirus COVID-19 outbreak. An introduction to the plan said, it said Mr. Biden believed the government must act swiftly and aggressively to help protect and support essential workers and the most vulnerable. The aim is to give 100 million vaccine doses by the end of April and reopen most schools safely within 100 days. Vaccine centres will be established at stadiums and community facilities. 100 days. Talking in 3 months' time. After about April. Talk about April, yeah. 100 days is about April. Schools will be open. Yeah, end of April, it says that there, don't it? There will be more funding for state and local officials to help tackle the pandemic, and a new office will be established to coordinate the national response. The Defence Production Act will be used to speed up production of personal protective equipment and essential supplies needed for the vaccine production. Mr. Trump used the same piece of legislation to compel the production of the items in short supply last year. Vaccination doses by population, reported vaccine doses administered by per 100 people in the 10 countries with the most vaccinations. Israel, we got 35.3. I don't know if it's million. 35.3 million. It can't be million. 350,000.300 perhaps. Anyway, on the top of the already announced rules on wearing masks and social distancing on the federal government property, face coverings will become mandatory on many planes and trains. But wearing and inheriting is so much worse than we could have imagined, Mr. Zients has said. In a future break, the US would join the COVAX scheme designed to deliver COVID vaccines to 4 countries. Speaking by video call to the World Health Organization in Geneva, Dr. Walker also stressed that the US would continue to provide funding for the WHO, in line with Mr. Biden's move to leave. What happened on Wednesday? Only hours after being sworn in, Mr. Biden signed 15 executive orders, including reversing Mr. Trump's policies on climate change and immigration. Few were present to witness the oath of ceremonies due to coronavirus restrictions. Donald Trump, who has still not formally conceded the presidency to Mr. Biden, snubbed the event in a departure for long-standing tradition. Democracy. President Biden said after taking the oath of the office in front of the US Capitol, a major theme of his inauguration speech was the unity after the major divisions laid bare during the Trump administration. Mr. Biden promised to be a president for all Americans, including those who voted against him, which is a good, as an outlook, as an onlooker looking at the outlook of America. It doesn't matter what side of the fence of politics they sit, because every 5 years they get a chance to be elected from the opposing party. Same as Boris Johnson for the next 5 years. After that, it could be anyone. It could be Liberal Democrat. It could be Labour Party leader. Could be anyone as president. Could be Sarah Keir Starmer. Could be Rachel Johnson. Who knows? But anyway, if that is how they outlook of their country, that is what you want. That is what you want. There's left and right on the politics. Without that, there is no bird to fly the country forward. So yeah, that's exactly what you want. You want for the people. Doesn't, like he's saying, he doesn't care if you vote for him or against him. He's going to be one for the people. How have world leaders reacted? Chancellor Angela Merkel of Germany is the latest world leader to react to Mr. Biden taking office, saying there isn't much broader scope for political accord with President Biden. She said the climate crisis, coronavirus and security were issues ready to be addressed by the US, Germany and Europe. China reacted through its ambassador in Washington, Chu Tanika. China looks forward to working with the new administration to promote sound and steady development of China-US relations and jointly address global challenges in public health, climate change and growth, he said. Russian ambassador to the US, Anatoly Antonov, said, I would like to believe that a new chapter in development of the United States of America begins today, and, of course, the new chapter in the development of Russian and American relations begins as well. At least we have repeatedly spoken about this. So yeah, moving the country forward. What about Boris Johnson's? Boris Johnson's now got to play ball, hasn't he? He's got to try and counteract with Joe Biden with his policy choices. It's going to be a bit hard because obviously Boris Johnson was more for President Trump, and he probably still is in work and to get along with President Biden. That is the way Boris Johnson will cope in the forthcoming, not months, I'm going to say years, because he's got 4 to 5 more years presidency, Prime Minister himself. He's got to just get on. It could be like duck to water's back, even if you don't get on. I'm pretty sure Boris Johnson is intelligent enough to just get on with things and brush it under the carpet. Whatever Joe Biden's got to say. He's one for the people. Boris Johnson's one for the people, as he's a Republican. I know he's a conservative like a Republican, where Joe Biden isn't, well, statistically, he's not one for the people. I think he's more like a socialist, I believe. But, yeah, Boris Johnson's got to learn to just get on with it. She's got to learn to get on with it, live with it, and get on with it. It's a great show, guys. I'm really enjoying it. It's great to be back. I'm so happy you guys are listening. Anyway, I'm going to get through this next thing before we have a break. It's not so long either. It's about Biden and Boris Johnson as we look forward into what I was just saying. Biden inauguration with Boris Johnson. The inauguration of the President Joe Biden is a step forward for the United States, which has been through a bumpy period, Boris Johnson has said. So Boris Johnson already congratulations Mr. Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. The UK PM said it was a big moment for the UK and the US as their joint common agenda. Did you know that Kamala Harris used to be Vice President? Obama's Vice President, and now she is Mr. Biden. And Mr. Biden, the first white president to have an Asian Vice President working alongside her. That is phenomenal for the US, tackling Black Lives Matter. That's a big thing in America. Big thing in America. Fascist people. Hopefully the legal authorities will take it on board. They're going to have to, aren't they? Because once you've got that in the frame light, imagine having a king and queen. One was Asian, one was English, or one was like, one was Muslim or whatever. And one was a Christian. It's going to look good for the head of the state, isn't it? It's going to look good for, we've all got to get on. It's got bygones be bygones. I was talking about the unprecedented times of the apartheid the other day, 1990, Nelson Mandela, on my social media. I was talking about it the other day, where he got stuck in Robben Island. I only just talked about that the other day. I'm all about equalities. You know what I'm like when it comes to anything to do with racism. Anexphobia. You know what I'm like? I'll support it straight down the middle. Everyone's equalities. Doesn't matter if you're whatever colour you are, doesn't matter what your sexuality is, you have to be kind. You have to be kind to everyone. Manners don't cost a thing. Mr. Johnson said he looked forward to working with the US on tackling climate change and coronavirus pandemic. Making his inaugural address, Mr. Biden said democracy has prevailed. He promised to be a president for all the Americans and said his whole soul is in putting America back together again. It's going to be, my outlook on America as a president, I don't know how doable it is. Taking everyone's gun off them is a good start. Taking everyone's gun off them is a good start. I don't know how possible. It's easy for me to sit here and say, let's get all the police to raid everyone's house and get all the guns away. You're still not going to get them away. Still going to be some people keeping their guns back. But if that's the start of, the democracy handing in a gun, I'm pretty sure most of them would do it. But there's going to be a few villains that keep guns, as you know. It happens in this country. People still do get them in this country. In Essex, just recently, last time I've done my live UK in Essex, my local constituency politics, an old man had a gun license to, youth, you want to say youth, young adults, like 20s, in the 1920s, went round his house, knew he had a gun, obviously he had a gun license, he was a farmer supposedly, went round his house to know that he had a gun in his house, he strangled the old man to death and took his gun. So it does still happen in the UK. This is in Essex as well. So yeah, if you could handle the guns in, that would be a massive new start to America. Because criminology is a massive thing, isn't it? You want to move. You want to go on holiday with your family. You want a nice, chilled out, relaxed holiday with your wife and your children, and to be safe, that they can go running in the pool, knowing that any other person in the hotel that you're staying at, sitting around the pool, has not got a gun in their bag. And anxiety levels, stress levels, the criminology of the opposing person sitting opposite you on the sunbed. You don't know if they're intoxicated with alcohol, and they might just look at you funny, thinking, or he's looking at your girlfriend. Mate, what are you looking at? And because he's got his gun in his pocket, he can get out of his, get out of character. He can go, shut up, mate, and pull the gun at you, point it in your head. That's why they need someone to put their guns away. Anyway, moving on. Outgoing President Donald Trump, who has not formally conceded to Mr. Biden, did not attend the ceremony. President Biden began work straight away on reversing a number of his predecessors' policies, including rejoining the Paris Climate Change Agreement, gaining the praise of Mr. Johnson. The PM tweeted it was hugely positive news, adding, "I look forward to working with our US partners to do all we can to safeguard our planet." Earlier this week, the former head of civil service, Lord Sedwell, suggested Mr. Johnson would be glad Mr. Trump had not been re-elected for a second term as US President. Writing in the Daily Mail, Lord Sedwell said those who believe Boris Johnson would have preferred Mr. Trump to win again were mistaken. There you go. So already it's showing Mr. Johnson is not at all faced that Joe Biden's now in the presidency. Former cabinet secretary who stepped down in September said a second term for Mr. Trump would have not been to the benefit of British or European security. Transatlantic trade, let alone environmental agenda, to which the Prime Minister is so committed. So there you go. There's Boris Johnson's conception of Mr. Trump. I mean, I don't think he was greatly loved in the US anyway. He came over, didn't he? He came over to the Queen, January 2020. 2020, I was over at Buckinghamshire Palace as the Queen got back from their outing. I think it was on the 21st of January, something. I've got it in my book, in my diary, I was there. Mr. Johnson's public stance toward the former president has varied over the years. In 2005, when he was the Mayor of London, Mr. Johnson accused Mr. Trump of stupefying ignorance over his comments about violence in the city. But as a Foreign Secretary following Mr. Trump's election as president, he said there was a lot to be positive about, and in 2019 praised his many good qualities. For his part, Mr. Trump has appeared largely supportive of Mr. Johnson, backing his flagship Brexit policy, at one point saying of the British Prime Minister, they call him Britain Trump. And echoing his predecessor, in 2019, Mr. Trump described the UK Prime Minister as a physical and emotional clone of Mr. Trump. After winning the presidential election, Mr. Biden found Mr. Johnson head of the European leaders and expressed his desire to strengthen the historic special relationship between the two countries. Speaking on Wednesday, Mr. Johnson said it was a job of all UK Prime Ministers to have a good close working relationship with the US President, but right now there are many things the two countries wanted to do together. When you look at the issue, which unite me and Joe Biden, the UK and the US right now, there is a fantastic joint common agenda, he said, for us and America. It is a big moment. He said he hoped the UK could help the US commit to a target of net zero carbon emissions by 2050 in the run-up to the Climate Change Conference, COP26, to be held in Glasgow this year. UK Prime Minister like to consider American presidents as their best diplomatic friend. That relationship, particularly when it comes to security and defence, is unusually close. As with Donald Trump, that friend has been unpredictable and unconventional. That has been made for some very awkward political moments. So for the government, this is really important and positive, turning off the page. The term I've used phrase is a special relationship which provokes neurotic behaviour on the side of the Atlantic. Has meant the most when there has been a genuine personal chemistry between the two leaders, whether Thatcher and Reagan or Bush and Blair. There's nothing automatic about Mr. Biden and Mr. Johnson developing that kind of political friendship. But in words of one former senior minister for the UK, Biden means we will close exclusivity but gain predictability, easier to work with, less cringeworthy and more dependable. But we may not be the only girlfriend on speed dial. Speaking to The Guardian, Shadow Foreign Secretary Lisa Nandy described Mr. Biden as a woke guy. He asked to be agreed. Mr. Johnson said, I can't comment on that. What I know is that he's a firm believer in the transatlantic alliance, and that's a great thing. He added there was nothing wrong with being woke. I put myself in a category of people who believe that it is important to stick up for your history, your traditions and your values, the things you believe in. Opposition leader Sir Keir Starmer also sent his congratulations to the new president and vice president. The US begins a new chapter in its history, one of hope, decency, compassion and strength. The Labour leader said, adding together our two nations can build a better, more optimistic future for the world. And First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, tweeted, warm congratulations and best wishes to President Biden and Vice President Harris. Scotland and the US share long-standing bonds of friendship and cooperation. We look forward to building on these in years ahead. Writing on the Daily Mail, former Prime Minister Theresa May said, Mr Biden's election presented the UK with a golden opportunity for the Western democracy to reverse the trend towards absolutism and a few strongmen falling off against each other in global affairs. The Queen sent a private message to Biden before his inauguration of Buckingham Palace, as said. Anyway, before I move off, I've got some advertising to do for some local businesses, some worldwide businesses, and I want to add, obviously, all policies have different agreements, different opinions, different values. We all support different things for different reasons. I mean, I'm conservative, I'm conservative because to me it's bona fide and conservatism, which is genuine and traditional. It's genuine and it's traditional. It's just something, my granddad was in World War II under Winston Churchill. There's a lot of things why I've always stuck to conservative. Another good reason, in the postmodernism, Margaret Thatcher. And I've read the constitutional law book and everything all adds up in my head as I read it. Great Major Escape. It's nothing to brag home about, but these are all historic things that bring you to liking one side of the politics, the government, left or right centre. People sit, why does he support Conservative? Is it just because of Boris Johnson? We used to have Tony Blair as Prime Minister, me growing up. Tony Blair. Then we had John Major. All these things start manning up. Why am I Conservative? Boris Johnson's got involved. Joe Johnson, Rachel Johnson, Jonathan Edwards. Well, it's only my mother's maiden name. So one side of the family, all Johnsons, the other side are Edwards. And they're all Conservative. I can't go, okay, I'm going to support Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? I was brought up into media. I done media studies when I was aged 15. So I don't know the exact year. I'm going to go about 1996, hazard of a guess. 1996, media studies. I was learning about all different kinds of media, broadsheet, tabloid, all kinds of media. Anyway, have a short break. I reckon we can be about another half hour on the show, guys. We can listen to this Brexit mess. Don't listen to the critics in the media. I could have an opinion. Have a wide spread jurisdiction. See everything from all sides of the fence. Because I could talk about Brexit and how good it is for us, and someone else could talk about Brexit and throw it straight in the bin. We all go through a bad time. Something negative in your thought, you can bring up negative within the media. I had a bad day when I had IBS. I was giving every single person, putting every single person down with me because I was in pain. I was putting Boris Johnson down. I absolutely adore politics. I think Boris Johnson's done an amazing job by Prime Minister. Consider, what I was saying about him because I was in so much pain. I put my Prime Minister down. We should all be supporting. He's helping us through this current climate. We should be thinking how lucky we are. And me of all people should be supporting him absolutely massively. Our safety is paramount. It's getting more policing. It's less criminology. We should be so thankful. I know there's a lot more deaths, but that is not his fault. let me say, it's not his fault. As you know, America, I was just reading just now, America's got a much more substantial amount of deaths. If we stick more to restrictions, and people go, oh, yeah, he's cut restrictions too early, but then if he didn't, we've got people protesting anyway. We've got people protesting, so it's hard to weigh up the good and bad anyway. Just moving on. I'm not going to put myself in a hole like other critics.
It wasn't like December.
He's doing what he can.
Hi guys, so rejoin campaigner Femi tweeted this image from The Express. So it says here, scrap it now, Boris Johnson urged to tear up Brexit fishing agreement with the EU. Now this is from The Express, and I want to be clear here that it's important to remember that The Express is a pro-Tory, but more pro-Brexit newspaper. They have been supporting Brexit since before 2016, and since 2016 they have supported Brexit at every turn. They have never criticised Brexit. They criticised the EU. They criticised Tory MPs who didn't believe enough in Brexit. They've supported a deal. They've supported no deal. They've gone back to supporting a deal again, and then back to no deal, and then back to a deal. They're not consistent in any way, but it's just about basically hating the EU and loving Brexit. Now, I've said this before, when the reality of Brexit hits, Brexiteers and their voice and their friends in the media will of course find someone to blame. I had said in the past how Boris Johnson would probably take some of the blame. Of course, the European Union will take most of the blame. Remainers or rejoiners will take the blame. The liberal elite will take the blame. The other media outlets will take the blame. It will never be Brexit. Brexit will never be the problem, because Brexit is dogmatic in a sense. Brexit cannot be criticised. And of course here, this is a perfect example of this. Scrap it now, Boris Johnson urged to tear up Brexit fishing agreement. Now, of course, the problem is not, in a sense, Boris Johnson's agreement, Boris Johnson's deal with the EU. That's not the problem. The problem is that the UK is outside the single market and the customs union. I've said this on numerous occasions. The problem is not the agreement, the problem is Brexit. Because Brexit was, we're leaving the customs union and the single market. And we want to become an independent coastal community with our sovereignty and our fish. And the EU at every stage said, look, if you want to leave, you can leave. We would prefer you to remain a member of the European Union. But you voted to leave. Okay, go. We would like to have an agreement with you in the future. We'd like to, maintain a good relationship with the UK.
What would your life be like if you were a rapid transformational therapist?
Yeah, guys, I'm pausing that there. That's going to go on for quite a while. We'll come back to that in the next break. Thank you all so much for staying tuned. I don't know if that's Tony Angel. Thank you for being loyal, coming back, supporting the show. It means a hell of a lot. Thank you so much. Everyone on Castbox FM, thank you as well. I'd like to do a questionnaire time where I can give a free art giveaway. I don't know if any of you guys want to participate at a later date. Some of my knowledge of the media that I get up involved in most days. Anyway, moving forward, university tuition. Thank you all for coming through. I've got enough support just come through on YouTube. Thank you. I'm so happy that people do tune in. I've got 13 listeners on Castbox. I usually have about 20, usually, but 13 because I've been on for about a week. I've had my head in other things while in pain, to be quite sure, but we can't get over it, we get under it in the end. Time and forbearance, absolutely. Thank you for coming in, listening. It means a lot, hell of a lot. If you can help me share my YouTube people, I'll get more listeners. It means an awful lot. I put so much time and effort into these shows. And we're looking at the university. Children, youth for today are struggling. They're paying the price of this pandemic. University tuition fees frozen at $9,250 for a year. University fees in England will be frozen at a maximum of $9,250 for the next academic year. The Department for Education, DfE, said a longer-term decision on cuts to fees would be delayed until the next comprehensive spending review. But education sector said the government is wasting opportunity to help university students. The ministers also set out plans to improve post-16 vocational education, including student loans for adult learners. The DfE also launched a consultation on changing the timetable for applying to university to a so-called post-qualification admission system. This would mean admissions being based on the grades achieved by students rather than relying on predictions. Fees and grants. The government outlined its plans for higher education. The reforms are over 18 in response to landmark review commissioned by the government from finance expert Philip Auger. Recommendations were published in May 2019. Planned reforms included making $2.5 billion available for technical qualifications for adult learners through the National Skills Fund, a lifelong student loan entitlement for up to 4 years or higher education, and the prioritising of funding of the STEM subjects. But the Auger Review's recommendations reduced the tuition fees to $7,500 alongside implementing the reforms to minimum entry standards and foundation years at university were not addressed in the latest response. The DfE said, given the pandemic, now is not the right time to conclude the review in full. Any further reforms are expected to be announced at the next spending review. Mr. Auger also suggested the return of maintenance grants for poorer universities students as part of his review, but there was not mention of this in the interim response. University and College Union General Secretary Joe Grady said, sadly, this interim response confirms that there will not be a radical change to the current system. So it's just a drop within about £2,000 in the yearly tuition fee. I think you do need 9,000 for each year, because the 3,000, 6,000, 6,000 is for two modules each year that you go through, and for the last 9,000, the last 3,000 or 9,000 goes for your start of the next year. It rolls over to next year every year. You're in university 3 to 4 years. So I think some of them are even 6 years, I don't know. Anyway, the Westminster government is wasting an opportunity to make a real difference for students and institutions. Professor Julia Buchanan, President of Universities UK, removed the prospect of lifelong loans, saying, it is encouraging to see government's commitment to making lifelong learning opportunities and more accessible to all. However, Professor Buchanan said the government should provide maintenance grants for those who need them the most, including those considering starting shorter courses on a modular basis. I just want to give, a shout out to, a few of one of my local constituencies MPs, one in my old constituency, and another one further afield where I lived last year in Hertfordshire, that constituency. I'm talking about the one being last year, Grant Shapps, Transport Secretary. When I lived there, I never heard of him before, never heard of him. Grant Shapps, Transport Secretary. He's got a lot to deal with, hasn't he? He's got the infrastructure of the transportation of trains, making sure they're running up to scratch. Because, some of us need to know what politicians stand for, what they do, what they get up to. Will Quint in my area, another guy. I work closely along with my politicians, looking at my local constituency, what could be improved. How, looking at my community, how people are acting in my community. There's a dog walk in my local, we've got landscapes that we like to call home. I've got Country Park where I live, Country Park. I love to go, in the summer I go there, relax, I could take a book. I just relax on my own. I feel like a bit of a loser on my own, but I do it. I go over there, sit in the sun. I call it escapism from reality. I go over there. I like to look at the sky. Sometimes I don't watch TV. I look at the wall to think of my life's plan. What's life got planned out for me? Having that bit of escapism to find out sometimes. What is life all about? What are my aspirations in life? What are my goals? What do I want to achieve out of life? If I do this 365 days a year for the rest of my life, would I be upset? No, I wouldn't be upset. Because the more producing I get, the bigger establishment I get, the more subscribers I get. It's a job well done. Even though it's voluntary at the moment, it's still a job. It's a philanthropist job. I've worked in a homeless shelter, watching people die through alcoholism. And the reason why they're dying through alcoholism, they're split up from a relationship. Some people get bullied by alcohol. Their heart's hurting because they lost a girlfriend or they lost their parents, so they turn to alcoholism. Do you think your parents, no matter what happens to your parents, if it is tragic, if they died of old age, whatever happens to your parents, you think your parents want you to take your own life? Your parents be turning over in their grave. That's what you remember. Your parents brought you up all your life to let you go to their funeral, and after you're suffering inside and you turn to alcohol. Do you think your parents want that for their child? They brought you up to the best they can. They want to leave knowing that they did the best they can by you. So you got to live a life. No, I'm not going to tell you how to run life. Everyone's got their own life, and everyone's got their own problems. People suffer mentally more than others. I'm gonna suffer terribly. My mum and dad are, like my best friend at times. I've got no one to talk to. I go and talk to them. Problem halved. Problem shared is problem halved. And if you haven't got that, you've got nothing. So that's my compassion in life. But what will I do after? I will not turn to the bottle. Because I don't want them to be turned over the grave and thinking, what a monstrosity of a juvenile child have I brought into this world. I'm one of their offsprings that they brought up and fed all their life. Been tuitioned by them not to, hang around in the suburban areas too long with juvenile activity. Anyway, meeting local needs as part of its Skills for Jobs white paper, published alongside higher education reforms. The DfE said it wanted to put an end to the illusion that a degree is the only route to success and a good job, and that further and technical education is the second-class option. A white paper is a policy document produced by government to set out their proposals for future legislation. The measures put forward include business groups working alongside colleagues to develop skills, plans to meet local training needs, a £65 million development fund to establish new colleague business centres, giving employers a central role in designing almost all technical courses by 2030, ensuring education and training is linked to skills needed, boosting equality and uptake of higher technical qualifications by introducing newly approved qualifications from September 2022. Changing the law so that from 2025 people can access flexible student finance to train and retrain throughout their lives. In December, the government announced that tens of thousands of adults with an A-level or equivalent would be able to benefit from nearly 400 fully funded courses from April. It was the first major development in Prime Minister Boris Johnson's lifetime skills guarantee LSG scheme, which was launched in September. Mrs Johnson said it would mean everyone will be given the chance to get the skills they need, right from the very start of their career. Education Secretary Gavin Wilson said, these reforms are at the heart of our plan to rebuild back better, ensuring technical education and training is based on what employers want and need, whilst providing individuals with the training they need to get a well-paid and secure job. British Chamber of Commerce Director General Adam Marshall, it welcomed plans to put skills needs of businesses at the heart of further education, as local leaders look to rebuild their firms and communities in the wake of coronavirus pandemic. It is essential to ensure the right skills and training provisions is in place to support growth, he added. I mean, look, this is what I've been saying for months on end. I mean, I found a little an envelope. I found an envelope to better my aspirations in life. Some of you are sitting there now thinking he's not got a substantial job, he's just doing philanthropist radio channel. But look at the evidence, the qualitative evidence I've been giving the audience. You're sitting there, you're plucking at straws thinking, you're in your job, you're not happy with your job, but you want to do something that you can retire on for the rest of your life. You can't retire on doing your manual work, can you, for the rest of your life? You're not going to be happy working on your feet, busting your hands, breaking your back. You're not going to be happy doing that for the rest of your life. You can get into your 60s and you think, I need a job that I don't have to be standing out. Otherwise, I'm going to be in a home. Someone's going to be looking after me before long. You want to be sitting down at a desk like a Prime Minister. You want to be sitting down at a desk like a doctor. You want to be sitting down at a desk like a psychiatrist. Because a psychiatrist is phenomenal with his thoughts, the way he can develop, not his mind, but develop your mind. He can develop, help you build give you strategy for your own life, your own mind, to rebuild back a better path. Well, I'm going to do that with you guys now. I know psychology, I'm pretty good myself. The voice someone can speak to me. I know when someone's either could be tired, or they're angry, or, sometimes the way people speak to you, they've got something I sense like they've got something to hide from you as well, like a lie almost. I can sense that to a certain extent. I don't know indefinite and point fingers at your problem, never, because no one can. No one can point bother and think, oh, he's hiding that because he's got a girlfriend or she's got a boyfriend. You can't ever point finger and say that unless you can see red-handed. But I've got a good psychological. I like to think I've good. I've got a good source of character. Anyway, what I was getting at, if you want to better your aspirations in life, all the skills, key skills you can gain to better yourself. The funding and skills. You need to go into business. You want to be. You want to work in PA. You want to be a PA assistant. Work in money, work in office, working at a payroll. There's courses you can do. I'm thinking about taking out. I've done business management. I've just finished it. I'm thinking about now doing it at a PA, of course, working payroll. If I'm sitting in it, working for an NHS, working out everyone's payroll in the NHS, I've got possible 100 other occupants that I've got to work out their wages each month and put it into Excel, which I can do because I've used Excel many times. But actually doing a course would be I think that'd be a great course to do. I don't know if any of you other guys want to change your aspiration in life. I can still be fit. I can still be keeping myself maintained, can't I? Because before I go to work, after I get back from work, you got to remember when you go to business. Dwayne Johnson, a great speech from Dwayne Johnson. I'm a great fan of Dwayne Johnson. Any kind of Johnson, I'm a fan of because it's it's hereditary, isn't it? We all believe in one God. We all believe in one Johnson. We're all Johnsons. No matter what direction it has of a choice they are, they're Johnsons. So yeah, you've got a bit of a kind heart for a Johnson. Absolutely. I look at them like a fan. I've got a friend which I class as now my cousin around the corner. She's a Johnson too. That's just how I look at a Johnson. That's hereditary. It's my name. You don't step on somebody's same surname. It's a bit weird. Your long lost uncle or your long lost sister or your long lost cousin. Your cousin, you didn't know what your uncle did 20 years ago. You don't know. So that's how I look at things. Don't step on toes. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, yeah, what I'm saying, Dwayne Johnson. I get a bit above myself, don't I? I get a bit above my station, start going up on a tangent. Dwayne Johnson. About gaining. You could be working in a business for 8 hours. Remember, when you're working at business for that 8 hours, always find time to find yourself when you get out of that business. Because the time you're working for someone as a slave, you need to find yourself as you come out. Remember, you've got to put hours into yourself when you come out. Not sitting in front of the telly, reading a book. In my world, obviously some of our worlds are different. You want to be a reader, you want to be a writer, you want to be a philosopher, but you have to read to do that. That's what you need to do. You need to find time for yourself when you come out of your job. You need to find your passion when you come out of that job, doing 8 hours in any job. My passion is keeping alive. I've got secondary Raynaud's disease. I need to keep myself physically and mentally attached. So I need, whatever job I go into, I need to find 2 or 3 hours to myself to maintain my Raynaud's disease. Because if I was just to sit here and be, not no disrespect if anyone is obese, but if I was just to sit here and read when I get back, I'm going to be obese. And then my hands and my feet will fall off. I used to lose my toenails many few years ago, but it's getting to the point now where my fingers and toes are literally dead. They're dead. I feel like my not my middle finger, one next to middle finger, and next to my little finger. That finger is going to be falling off in years to come. Gangrene if I don't look after myself. Anyway, funding concerns, guys. Funding concerns. But organisations representing school and college leaders are also sceptical that there is enough funding for the further education sector to deliver on the proposals. In November, and the Institute for Fiscal Studies, IFS, said FE colleagues and the sixth forms face significant financial uncertainty. Chief Executive of the Association of Colleges, David Hughes, said colleges have been calling for this. After years of being overlooked and under-utilised, but government has to not only recognise the vital college role, it also needs to increase funding. Oh, almost up to an hour and a half, guys. It could be 2 hours. Just what the doctor ordered. Thank you. Anyway, what we're all looking for, we're coming to more local news. What everyone is looking for. It's right at the end of the show, the last half hour. All the news that you want is at the end of the show. I was going to always save the best till last. Boris Johnson says it's too early to say if lockdown will be lifted before summer. Boris Johnson said it's too early to say if lockdown will be lifted before summer. Boris Johnson said it's too early to say whether coronavirus restrictions will be eased before the summer. The Prime Minister said the current national lockdown in England will be reviewed in mid-February. The legislation behind the restrictions expires at the end of March. Speaking on Thursday on a visit to Didsbury, South Manchester, Johnson said it was absolutely crucial that the public followed the rules. It asked whether the country was looking at summer rather than spring. For restrictions to be eased, the Prime Minister said, I think it's too early to say when we'll be able to lift some of the restrictions. He added, we're seeing the contagiousness of the new variant that we saw arrive just before Christmas. Sorry about that, guys. I think it's too early when we'll be able to lift some of the restrictions. He added, we're seeing contagiousness of the new variant that we saw arrive just before Christmas. There's no doubt it does spread very fast indeed. It's more deadly, but it is much more contagious, and the numbers are very great. Johnson warned it was unquestionably going to be a tough few weeks ahead. Priti Patel, Home Secretary, is due to host a Downing Street press conference on Thursday afternoon. We've got weather warnings as well coming up. It's very important that you listen in, guys. The government has set a target of vaccinating around 15 million of the most vulnerable people by 15th of January. Matt Hancock, Health Secretary, told MPs on Tuesday the NHS was now vaccinating people at the rate of 200 jabs every minute. He said the UK has now given more than 5 million doses to 4.6 million people. It comes as statistics from the Test and Trace Service suggested the number of people who have tested positive for COVID-19 has fallen in England by 15% on the week. That is amazing, isn't it? It's a substantial amount. So, come the end of February, if people take their jab, things could be looking for the better. But the figures contrast with the latest React survey by Imperial College London, which found the number of people infected between January 6th and 15th was up by 15% on early December. That is phenomenal, guys. Stay. We've got weather warning next after this little pocket. We get through this pocket, and then we get straight into. I want to talk about Piers Morgan. I'm a great fan of Piers Morgan. I don't know if you guys listen to Piers Morgan on this morning. I listen to Piers Morgan not on this morning. I listen to. He does a lot of talk shows on YouTube with. He does a lot of talk shows on YouTube with a lot of people. Tommy Robinson being one of them, a fascist kind of guy. He's an interviewer. He likes to interview people off the stage of this morning. He's a competent kind of guy. Piers Morgan rules out Donald Trump reconciliation after publicly ending their friendship. The Good Morning Britain presenter stayed in touch with Trump following his winning stint on Celebrity Apprentice in 2008. Piers Morgan has ruled out a reconciliation with his former friend Donald Trump. The Good Morning Britain presenter and former president first met when Piers Morgan was a contestant on the celebrity edition of The Apprentice USA in 2008, which he went on to win. After staying in touch with Trump, Piers showed him support throughout most of his presidency, but later called him out due to his handling of coronavirus pandemic and the deadly riots at the US Capitol this month. I mean, the deadly riots, was that due to Trump? Or is he moaning about it, the way his way of handling it? Quite possibly. During Thursday's edition of the GMD, the morning after Trump left office, Piers Morgan insisted people like me who like Trump, who got on with him and known him for a long time, was long before he was a politician and after. It was incredibly disappointing to see him lose his mind, lose any sense of leadership, and in the end actually inspire a riot against the heart of American democracy, he said. At the point I was done, that it's sorry, I can't be with someone like that. When weather presenter Alex Beresford questioned if there could ever be a reconciliation, Piers said, I don't think so now. I'm a completely loyal person. I stuck with him when everyone was loathing him. I always got on well with him. I did his Apprentice show 12 years ago. That is when we become friends, Piers Morgan has suggested. He is what he is. He's an extraordinary, unique character, good, bad and ugly. The problem is when America got really tested. That was always the unanswered question. In a real crisis, what would he be like? And the truth is, he turned out to be an utter disaster. Piers publicly ended his friendship with Trump after the US Capitol riot, saying, at the time, I can't remain friends with someone who says he loves a bunch of violent Nazi sympathisers and white supremacists who just launched a deadly attack on the epicenter of the US democracy itself and think they're so special people. Appearing on the Abbey Logan, the Midpoint podcast, Piers admitted, do I regret now, being defensive of Trump when others were hammering him? Yeah. Because I think that he has shown a side to him in the last year that I didn't see in a long time. I've known him. All the positives I found with Trump have been completely consumed and overtaken by his appalling leadership in the last year, and to the extent where the way he incited the mob to do what they did. That to me crossed a line where I can't be his friend anymore. I just can't. They were white supremacists and people wearing what's it called? The swastika thing. Shirts that he called people that were special people I love. Or sorry, then we're done. During the same interview, Piers Morgan revealed he often plays up to a character during his more controversial moments on a GMD. Good Morning Britain. Airs every Monday from 6 AM on ITV. I do like Piers Morgan. You know that he's kind of a realist, Piers Morgan, because I like to think. I don't like to think. I know. I like to know, and I'm a realist kind of person myself. I say it how it is, and I like to think I'm quite formal in a sense. I take everything with respect, you know, to do what I'm doing. So I've got to be on the ball. I can't sit there and go, right, I believe, you know, but he's still substantially probably ahead of me with his intelligence. I don't know, but he's been in it a long time. That's all I know. He's been in the game a long time. He's in the know because he's been in the. He's been running his own party for a long, long time. This is my party. This is my show, and which is next up. BBC weather forecast. Essex towns. I'm not going to tell you the next step because that gives away the storyline, and you'll go off and find it yourself. But I'm going to tell you. On Facebook, I've been elected by Facebook, and you're authority of the government. I've been now elected to give out the presidency of the votes in elections. My Facebook has actually accepted me. I was just sending I tried it before, I didn't get accepted because I wasn't involved in what I'm involved in now. They didn't accept me to, run electoral roles. When's the next election role? I'm allowed to do anything within politics, within reason, within an adequate sense. So it's given me, I had a bit of a bad day. I was really run down, and I woke up for, you know what, I've got something to wake up for. I've got a passion, I've got direction. I feel wanted, I feel needed. So this is what I want to do. Anyway, are you ready to vote? Do you vote? Some of you might not want to vote, but what does your vote matter? It matters because it matters who you want selected to be Speaker of a country. You turn on your TV every day and you're like, I'm sick of that man. Sick of him, sick of the politics, the way the formation of politics is running. Are you ready to vote? And are you registered to vote? If you're having trouble to sign up to vote, please contact of directions of how to register your details. This is all my descriptive writing. So if you want ideas of how to vote, where'd you vote? It's important to vote. You want, as an adult, as a parent, it's very important to for your kids' journey. You want a safety of your kids' journey. You want better aspiration, like I was just telling you. All the free government supporting young adults back into business. It's all supplied through our government, which Conservatives are in power at the moment, aren't they? What's to say that would still be there if another party's there? You don't know. As you know, Conservative, I'll say they're a neoliberalism, yeah, or Forberton. Absolutely. Neoliberalism. They're a fair trade system, aren't they? Very fair trade system. Very fair trade system. Conservative fair trade system. They've got education for adults. It's free as well. Free education to bet yourself, to get yourself into work. To go out there and get yourself a better job. Anyway, if you want ideas, you can message me on. I'll take that call in a sec, Jovia. I'll just go finish this speech quickly. So give me 5 minutes. If you want ideas how to vote, you can message me at proclamationnewsandgatherance@yahoo.com. If you're living in the UK, I can tell you how to sign up and vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I've given you my prosperity of who I vote for. In the United Kingdom, we're supposed to have a local election on the 6th of May. It was supposed to be last May, but it got moved on to this May because of the pandemic influenza. 2001 in May, local councils are the first, and for 13 directly elected mayors in England and 40 police and crime commissioners in England and Wales. There are also elections in the parliaments and assemblies of Scotland, Wales and London. The last two in junction with the London mayoral election. In March 2020, the government announced that the elections originally scheduled 7th of May of 2020, so it's a year, they put it back a year. would be delayed for a year due to COVID-19 pandemic. They're now expected to be held on the same time as the election previously scheduled for 2021. The seats up for elections are those last contested in 2006-2017. New unitary authorities to replace the county and district councils in North Hampshire and Buckinghamshire are due to hold their inaugural elections this year. That was all my scripture on my social media. I was reading it out to you so you got an idea what your vote can matter. So if you're getting older, your kids are your own, but you want the best treatment for your parents as you get older. You want infrastructure to be dealt with. Conservative are big, Boris is massive on infrastructure, NHS, making sure you got, enough care for the elderly people, elderly patients, hip replacements, cancer patients. I know a lot of it's been taken up by COVID thing at the moment. That's the common climate. We can't handle the common climate, unfortunately. It doesn't matter who's the Prime Minister, who the President is. It's a common climate. We're up against it. US are right up against it. But what I'm saying is, if you vote, your vote might make a massive difference to your party policy. Conservative, for instance, if we're going to lose by 2 votes and 2 of you listening haven't voted, more for you that our infrastructure ain't going to be supported next year, and our parents might need hospital, they might need a hospital bed and they can't get one due to your ignorance of voting. Voting is important, very, very important in everyone's everyday life. So it's important you take it in. It's not a tuition lesson. This is, well, it is, yeah. If you don't drum it into your head that you need to vote, you need to vote. Believe me, it's very important. And to educate your kids, they need to vote as well. BBC weather forecast: Essex towns where snow is set to fall this weekend. I could educate you in anything you wanted to. I could sit here. I could educate you in about sin, but if you don't start supporting the next in line of people that try and protect us, which the government clearly are, if you don't start educating people about the voting system, I could sit here like one of your Reggie Cray, can I? Start educating you like that. You should be thankful I'm trying to give you good guidance. What I'm saying, what I'm getting. I'm not Al Capone. I'm not trying to be something I'm not. I'm just giving you a good guidance of the way to vote, what your vote means for the democracy, what it means for your children. Think about your offspring growing up in today's modern society, and your parents. You're getting older. They want the best care for them. You want the best care for yourself, generations of generations. Anyway, moving forward. Part of Essex are likely to see snowfall this weekend, according to BBC weather. After a heavy burst of rain accompanied by gusty wind this week, snow conditions and a light breeze are expected for Sunday, 24th of January. This weekend, isn't it? Sleet is likely on Saturday for a few places, especially in the morning. We use the BBC's forecast to check to see whether any snow is predicted for Essex major towns. All of our towns are set to experience wintry conditions on Sunday. Some will potentially see heavy snow, while others will need to make do with sleet showers. Here are the snow odds of where you live in Essex. Chelmsford. According to the forecast, Chelmsford may see flurries on Sunday. There is up to 27% chance of light snow showers in the morning, becoming sleet later. Colchester, on the other hand, might see some proper snow on Sunday. The odds are up to 37% of heavy snow showers will occur early in the afternoon. The rest of the day will be more like light snow and sleet. So that's in Colchester. Southend, like Chelmsford, not much will go on Southend on Sunday. The odds are up to 38% that light snow showers and the sleet showers will take place. Basden, the same goes for Basden, which on Sunday may have some light snow in the morning, which will convert to sleet on Saturday too. There's also a low chance of sleet showers. Malden will follow light snow to sleet patterns on Sunday, with an up to 40% chance on Sunday. Rayleigh, over to Rayleigh, which shows a very similar picture. The town will likely see some wintry showers of snow and sleet on Sunday. Harlow, over the west of the country, Harlow shows, you guessed it, light snow and sleet showers on Sunday. There is a low chance of sleet showers on Sunday morning. Brentwood. Better news for Brentwood. There is a 30% chance of heavy snow showers on Sunday morning. Saturday morning could bring some sleet. Saffron Walden. In the west of the country, Saffron Walden, people might see snowflakes on Sunday morning, which will become sleet flakes later on. In Grays, outlook is more optimistic with a 30% chance of heavy snowfall on Sunday morning. Saturday may bring sleet. In Braintree has a slightly higher odds to be adjourned temporary with some snow, then there's a much 40% chance of light snow on Sunday morning and sleety showers on Sunday. Loughton. Finally, Loughton has a low chance of light snow, sleet to be on Sunday. Keep your hopes up though, winter is still underway and whiter days may come. Thank you all for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. It's proclamation news and governments. Last week I was the indigenous prominent professor and proclamation news and government. I love mixing it up. I love mixing up the show. It's important, isn't it? When you speak, you got a bit of philosophy behind you. You got a bit of get up and go, innit? There's no point in trying to be a Tony speaker if I've got no opt-in. I've got opt-in to be a speaker, and I opt and engage my brain to speak. It's all about being emotive when you're speaking. The audience will think this guy is quite substantial when it comes to jurisdiction. Anyway, moving forward. Essex Covid. Town falls from Covid capital to country's least infected area in just a month. Local authorities recorded the worst infected rate in the whole of England on Boxing Day. Inner Spainford became the worst affected area in the whole of England after recording a surge in cases. At that point, the local authority had an infection rate of 1,339.9 cases per 100,000 people in the week up to December the 20th. Travel forward to today and Brentwood is not only far from the worst in England, but also the lowest infection rate in the entire country. The latest data shows Brentwood had an infection rate of 403.8 cases per 100,000 in the week up to January the 16th, a far cry from the situation Boxing Day. 403 cases, 403 of every 100,000. That's quite a lot, isn't it? That's quite a substantial amount. That's almost 10%. That's almost 10%. Almost 10% of the population. Brentwood continues to make a gradual decline in infection rate after recording 694.6 cases in the week prior up to January 9th. The figures for 7 days of January 16th are based on tests carried out in laboratories and in a wider community. The list has been calculated by the PA News Agency based on the Public Health England data published on January the 20th of the government's coronavirus dashboard. Here is a list in full. It reads: name of local authority, rate of new cases in the 7 days to January 16th, number of brackets of new cases recorded in 7 days on January 16th, rate of new cases in 7 days to January 19th, number in brackets of new cases recorded in the 7 days to January the 9th. In Tendring there is the rates of the rest of Essex. Tendring is 845.4, Castle Point 819.9, Harlow 812, Thurrock 784.7, Southend on Sea 619.2, Colchester 573.2, Chelmsford 572.9, 90.9, Braintree 554.4, Epping Forest 524.0, Malden 491.3, Watchford 485.3, Utterford 411.9, Brentwood 403.8. So, I I'm going to give you a summary of what we've all been through. You want to listen to a speaker that knows what's just happened. I've just been reading. Does that reader know what he's been talking about? Does that speaker know what he's been talking about? All the way through COVID crisis, haven't we? COVID crisis. Every day is COVID crisis at the moment. Children not getting their fees for their tuition fees, university, suffering at home, younger generation suffering at home. We've had Joe Biden taking his new presidency role. How Boris Johnson is implementing his new workmate from across the pond with Joe Biden. And Piers Morgan on President Trump. We've had weather warnings in Essex, and we've had COVID-19 total infections. Is that a good memory? Is that what you call a good memory, ladies and gents? Absolutely. Thank you all for listening to Proclamation News and Gatherings. Nearly a two-hour show. I'm going to wrap the show up. I'm so thankful you've all stayed in. And then if you could share it and build a bigger, better establishment, this is what I intend to do. Brexit has been delivered. What a great evening. Thank you guys. Take care. God bless and speak soon. Subscribe if you're listening to on